Welcome back to Timeless Self-Discovery, where we unlock ancient wisdom to help you overcome life's toughest battles. Today, we're diving deep into the life of Miyamoto Musashi, not as the undefeated swordsman, but as a man who fought the most grueling battles within himself. Musashi was legendary not just for his skill in duels, but for his unbreakable spirit, an inner resilience that carried him through life's darkest and loneliest times. Picture Musashi alone in a quiet room, facing no opponent but himself, wrestling with fears, doubts, and the weight of his journey. The battles we fight within, those private struggles with doubt, fear, and self-criticism, are often the most relentless. But by understanding how Musashi faced his own demons, we can find guidance on confronting ours. His path wasn't easy, but it offers us powerful lessons for resilience and growth. Let's journey into Musashi's mind and see how he conquered himself. Because if we can learn to face our inner struggles as he did, there's nothing we can't overcome. Musashi's life was defined by a profound solitude. Early on, he broke away from his family and refused to bind himself to a master, becoming a ronin, a lone warrior. This isolation wasn't forced on him. It was a choice. Why? Because Musashi knew that to become great, he had to walk his own path, free from the limitations others would place on him. Imagine what it takes to choose such isolation. Alone, Musashi had no one to turn to for guidance or encouragement, no one but himself. He had to rely on his own inner resources, pushing his limits without anyone there to cheer him on or to hold him accountable. This was Musashi's training ground, the silence of solitude, where he wrestled with doubts, fears, and insecurities. Many of us today feel this same solitude, even if we're surrounded by others. We chase our dreams, set personal goals, and fight battles that only we can see. Musashi's story speaks to anyone who has ever felt alone in their journey. His isolation teaches us that, while solitude can be lonely, it also strengthens us. It strips away all distractions and forces us to find strength within. And when we learn to sit with our solitude as Musashi did, we realize that self-reliance isn't just about surviving alone. It's about building a foundation so strong that nothing can shake us. Musashi wasn't just trying to be good at swordsmanship. He was in a relentless quest for mastery. And with that came a deep, persistent fear of failure. He wanted not only to survive, but to understand the essence of all things, from combat to philosophy to the very nature of life itself. Imagine setting goals so ambitious that failure feels inevitable. Musashi wasn't only aiming to defeat his opponents, he was setting out to understand the way of the warrior, a path that encompassed strategy, discipline, and self-mastery. To him, the idea of falling short wasn't just disappointing, it threatened the very core of his purpose. Yet, he saw failure differently than most. Each defeat was a lesson, a step in his evolution, bringing him closer to understanding the path he walked. Musashi's fear of failure became his motivation, propelling him forward each time he stumbled. We all feel the fear of failure when we set high standards for ourselves. We worry about falling short, about not meeting our potential. But Musashi's journey reminds us that failure is not the end. It's an integral part of growth. By reframing failure as an opportunity to learn, we can turn setbacks into fuel for progress. Musashi didn't avoid failure. He faced it head-on, using each mistake as a building block on his journey to mastery. When we embrace failure as he did, we realize that the true measure of success isn't avoiding mistakes, but having the courage to keep going in spite of them. Musashi knew that to face not only his opponents, but also his inner demons, he needed more than skill. He needed an unshakable mind. This led him to pursue something called the Fudo Shin, or the Immovable Mind. This wasn't just about maintaining focus during combat. It was about cultivating a state of mind so resilient that no fear, distraction, or doubt could penetrate it. Imagine standing face to face with an opponent, with every second, every breath carrying the risk of death. In these moments, the immovable mind meant everything. Musashi trained himself to remain calm and focused no matter the circumstances, to silence the inner chatter that could derail him. The Fudo Shin wasn't a technique. It was a way of being, a complete control over his thoughts and emotions, even in life or death situations. While most of us will never face a duel, we do encounter moments of intense stress and pressure, times when our minds race and fear threatens to take control. Musashi's immovable mind teaches us that the true power lies in learning to control our inner world, to remain centered even when everything around us feels chaotic. In today's world, an immovable mind might mean staying calm in a crisis, not letting self-doubt derail us, or keeping a clear head when faced with overwhelming challenges. Musashi shows us that by training our minds to be steady, we can move through life's storms with purpose and resilience. As Musashi aged, his understanding of mastery transformed. He began to see that perfection wasn't the goal, continuous growth was. The imperfections he saw in himself, the mistakes he made, became his most profound teachers. In his later years, Musashi came to accept that the path to mastery was full of detours, and that each mistake was part of a larger journey. He no longer sought to prove himself. Instead, he became focused on understanding, on learning from each encounter and each failure. This shift in perspective allowed him to keep evolving, not just as a swordsman, but as a person. Musashi's legacy teaches us that perfection isn't a requirement for greatness. Growth comes from acknowledging our mistakes and using them to propel us forward. It's about embracing each setback as part of the journey and not letting our imperfections stop us from pursuing our highest potential. When we learn to see our mistakes as opportunities for growth, we too can follow Musashi's path toward mastery. Musashi's story isn't just about victory over others, it's about victory over oneself. His battles weren't always visible. They were private, fought in the quiet moments of self-reflection and solitude. Musashi's life is a reminder that true mastery lies within, not just in physical skill, but in the courage to face ourselves and keep moving forward. Musashi's journey teaches us that we all have the power to conquer our inner demons. His philosophy encourages us to be self-reliant, resilient, and willing to face the shadows within. He showed that strength is not always about winning. It's about persisting, about having the resilience to carry on even when the journey feels endless. So, how do we apply Musashi's path to our own lives? It starts by understanding that our fears, doubts, and imperfections are not barriers. They're part of our path. By cultivating our own immovable mind, we can meet life's challenges with calm and purpose. By embracing failure, we transform it into fuel for growth. And by accepting our imperfections, we allow ourselves to keep evolving. Musashi's legacy reminds us that the true duel isn't against an opponent, but against the limits we place on ourselves. And if we can learn to face these limits as he did, we can become warriors of our own lives. Thank you for watching, and if this journey into Musashi's philosophy resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Self-Discovery, where we explore the wisdom of the past to help you conquer life's modern battles. Until next time, remember that each step you take towards self-mastery brings you closer to understanding the true way of the warrior.